Hello, my Aloha, excuse me. Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday. I don't know what's happening to my hair today. Anyways, I've been super squirreling this morning, so for anybody coming on live, I've just been a little late. So, anyways, good morning. Happy Tuesday again. Today I have something different, a little different. We're not going to do the affirmators. Instead, we are going to do, I'm running out of pages. The ego versus the higher self. Ego versus the higher self. So let's get cracking. I'm going to read one side each. And then I have something at the end. So there's two different things, but I'm going to do them together because I was like, ooh, blowing my mind. So the first one, ego versus higher self, is from Instagram page Astral Truth. Good morning, Muddy. Whoever's on, older sibling couldn't make it, so she says hello. So oh, she's so cute. But anyways, yeah. And then the next one is from Woman CEO Gossip. So let's get to the ego versus the higher self first. Like I said, I'm squirreling today, so I'm keeping a pen in my hand because I'm all over. So, I'm going to go down the ego thing first, okay? And then we're going to do higher self, and then I'm going to go over both of them together. So, ego. Number 1, why am I not getting what I want? Number 2, this task is too hard for me to complete. Number 3, why is everyone happy but me? Number 4, I am such a failure. Number 5, I want to give up. Good morning, cousin. And then, so again, number 5, I want to give up. Now, on the higher self, matching each one of those, I am meant for more than I can currently imagine. This is increasing my limits and making me stronger. Most only show the good side of their lives, not the bad. Number 4, I am learning from my mistakes. And number 5, I am just getting started. So I really, really like this. And the reason I wanted to read it separately is because see how different everything is? I mean, on the ego side, why am I not? And on the higher self side, it's like, you know what? This is just the beginning. I'm just starting. Everything's going to go fine. Let's do this. It's just a matter of perception. Perception is everything when you're moving from the ego to the higher self. Now, you know what? I should have probably Googled this because the ego has a lot of different, a lot of people say, well, your ego is so big and blah, blah, blah. But ego isn't just that. Ego is, to me, it's always kind of been the negative aspect of a human being, right? Just the kind of our whiny side, right? I mean, for lack of a better way to put it. But yeah, hold on. I'm going to look this up. This is the joy of lives, right? We can do anything we want on a live. And also, let's see. Ego definition. Come on, computer. A person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. And this is where we're talking about the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. Compare with the id and superego. So, I mean, ego can really mean kind of two things, but at the same time mean the same thing. I am so sorry. I don't know what it is with my hair today, but it is driving me nuts. There, it's so uneven. Ugh, it's just a lot of floof. Or a lot of poof. But anyways, so yeah, self-importance, self-worth, self-respect, self-esteem. So you can have a healthy ego, okay? But when your self-importance starts becoming bigger than everything else around you and everyone else around you, that's where people start to notice your ego. But the part, again, that we're talking about is the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. And that's where this comes in. Oh, hold on. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, my goodness. Okay. It's going to be one of those mornings. But anyways, so the ego. Let's do the ego and the higher self together now. Number 1, why am I not getting what I want? That's your ego. Number 1, for the higher self, I am meant for more than I can currently imagine. So you're like, how do you fit those two together? I don't know, but let's try it. So if you go by the law of the universe, okay, like, everything you put out there, you're going to get back. That's exactly why you're not getting what you want. Now, again, when it comes to manifesting, praying, setting intentions, whichever it is that you do to whoever your higher power is, you got to remember, always put, oh, thank you. Thank you both. They blessed me. Thank goodness. But anyways, you got to really watch what you're saying. Okay, because people will say, well, I don't believe in that stuff. Well, guess what? It believes in you and it will happen. And that's why you're constantly running into roadblocks, right? Roadblock after roadblock, because you're putting these roadblocks in front of you without even realizing it. You are letting your ego get in the way of your higher self. Your higher self is saying, hey, we deserve so much more, than we can imagine. But it's not happening because you're holding us back. Not anybody else. I think a lot of times we tend to want to blame everybody else, but a lot of times, when we're pointing that finger, again, 3 pointing right back at us, right? So why am I not getting what I want? Well, again, when you pray, you manifest, or you set an intention, always finish it with this or something better, because what you want may not be meant for you, but something better will be in its place. So you may say, oh yeah, I want this, blah, blah, blah. But you might get a better one. But you have to believe. That's the higher self. That's the higher self. And like I said, if you're really trying to be specific about something, just say this or something better. Okay? Or you're going to be basically, again, you're putting a red light in front of yourself and it's never going to change to green unless you change your mindset. And that's the difference between the ego and the higher self. And again, the ego isn't always just about self-importance, right? Like we always sit there and go, oh my God, they have such a big ego. But what about the person with the tiny ego? The one that, just feels like they're completely undeserving. Remember, it says self-worth, self-esteem, self-respect. If you lack all of those, you're going to be stuck. You're just going to sit there and go, oh, what is happening? And I've done this. I have done this a million times. Why? Why isn't the world not working in my favor? And so this is kind of for me too. All right. Because I still struggle with it. I'm not going to lie. I still struggle with it. So again, why am I not getting what I want? Number one, on the higher self, I am meant for more than I can currently imagine. Imagine away. All right. Everything that you imagine may not come to fruition. But I'm guessing a lot of it probably will. And it may come to you in ways that you don't even realize. And then you might be sitting on your porch one day, 40 years from now going, oh, look at that. It did happen. It did work out. So be careful what you put out into the atmosphere, put out into the ether. Okay, we'll just call it the ether. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it the ether. Be careful what you put out there. Because that's what's going to come back to you. So if you keep putting out negative crap, you're going to get negative crap back. And then you're going to sit there and go, why am I not getting what I want? Why is the world against me? All right. Number 2, the ego. This task is too hard for me to complete. The higher self. This is increasing my limits and making me stronger. Have you ever sat there trying to put something together? I love putting things together. One of the very first things I ever did was a stereo unit case. And I messed up the door, but it didn't matter because it was mine. But I was told, oh, I'll put it together. But nobody was doing it. And so I just thought, one day I was bored. I had nothing to do. And I put it together myself. And at first I was just like, I was a teenager. So I got pretty dramatic, laid on the floor like Lilo and just said, oh my God, I can't do this. But when I finished it, it was like, wow. And when I put everything on it and in it and it didn't fall apart, it was like super wow. Like, whoa, I did this. So everything that feels like it's too hard to complete, just try to do it anyways. There are going to be things in life that we are not going to be able to do. Okay. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Okay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go for it. All right. I mean, everybody talks about 5Ks, right? And I'm sitting like, I will never be able to do a 5K. I'm not sure that I can run for 3 miles. And somebody said the magic thing to me, you can walk. And it's like, oh, duh. Right? I mean, it's like, oh yeah, huh? Stupid. Because that's what we think. We always see the highlights, right? We always see the people running. We always see the people doing this and doing that. But we never see the people who are walking are rarely shown. But it's true. And that's what they do. And it doesn't matter whether you finish first or you finish last. Okay? Because you're a winner. Because you did it. You tried it. If you're taking on a task that is too much for you and you're just like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is too hard to complete. Keep trying it. Now, if it becomes something where you're all, you know what, I probably need some help with this. There is nothing wrong with that. Needing help is not a weakness. It is a strength, because you're realizing that in this world, we pretty much do not get through it with just ourselves. There's always somebody helping us. If you're an introvert and you live by yourself and say, no, I don't need anybody, but somebody delivers your food, somebody delivers your groceries, guess what? They're helping. You may be paying for it, but they're helping. So, there have been a lot of things, I think, in all of our lives where we have finished it and it increased our limits and made us stronger. Not necessarily physically stronger, but stronger in our minds and in our hearts, because we're like, look, you know what? Wow, I did this. And if it's something that you end up needing help with and you can't complete it on your own, that's okay as well. Like I just said, asking for help is not a weakness, it's a strength. But take pride in knowing that you tried to do this, that this was something that you intended, and no matter how it got finished, you finished it. There's a lot of things that I do that I can't complete. And by this, I'm talking about all my stories that I've written. Several of them now that have been finished are being held hostage by my other hard drive, Lola. This is Peaches, but Lola, poor Lola, she just, I got to find a way to get them all off of her. But then I thought about it and I thought, I've been thinking about these things since I was a teenager. I've been writing since I was a kid. And there's so many things I've just never put out there because I've always been too afraid, I've never finished a story because this task is too hard to complete. And I'm not always sure that in our minds, it's something that was too hard to complete, as opposed to maybe it's just something that, we squirreled on, right? We just forgot about it and said, well, I'm going to start this one and I'll come back to that later. I've always had a problem with completion. And I don't mean me completing things in the general sense of a task, but I mean me just, finishing something. Like I'll binge watch a show, and then as I get towards the end, I kind of have to force myself to watch it because I don't want it to end. Because it brings this, it's like a safe space, especially when it's a show with like a bazillion seasons, right? I mean, you get so into it, it's like, and it feels so good to watch this, and it's something that you're doing, and then all of a sudden you're faced with, well, what next? And that can be scary, especially when you're healing. That can be completely scary. And why? I don't know. I wish I had the answers for that, because even I'm trying to figure that out. I have 2 shows that are just sitting in the wind waiting for me to finish them. One of them only has 3 episodes left. And I'm just like, come on, you got to do it. And it's like, no, I don't want it to end. But it needs to be done, right? It's not that I lost interest. It's just that I don't want to let go. And I think that's where, maybe, let's explore this for a second. Because I know I'm not the only one out there. And I know this is flying out of my face for a reason. Which means that, there's a lot of us out there that have trouble letting go. And I think, it doesn't necessarily need to be trauma-based. I think mine might be trauma-based, which, I'm not that person anymore, so I really got to let that go. But maybe that's the last part of the healing. I've been talking to Sammy about this. I've been talking to my cousin about this, and even older sibling, that, there's just something in there that is rolling around in my head that is kind of keeping me anchored from moving completely in to a spiritual awakening, or having that, just that uprising in your mind going, yeah, this is it, moving from the ego, the low based ego, to the higher self. And there's just something anchoring me. And maybe that's it. Maybe the binge watching of shows and not finishing it, or the not finishing stories, aren't necessarily a sign of, my not being able to let go. Maybe those are, may not be I don't know how else to put this, a side effect of whatever I'm trying to go through. Maybe they're a sign. That's what I meant to say. Maybe they're a sign saying, hey, you need to learn how to move through this, and you need to learn how to let go. Because here's the thing. Those shows are always going to be there. You want to go back and watch your favorite episode? Go watch it. It's not going anywhere. It's in the air forever. It's in the cloud forever. The streaming cloud forever. And yet we don't think about that, right? We think about, oh my gosh, it's done, it's over, it's gone, kaput. And I don't want to let go. And maybe that's it. Maybe what, for me, I'm going to share this part for me, because maybe it will help other people jog whatever they're going through in their hearts and their minds. Maybe for me, it's about being afraid of letting go of that inner floof, my inner child, which really I'm not, right? I'd actually be setting her free. But instead, I'm holding on to it because it's the last familiar thing of the person I used to be. And maybe that's it. Because, the person I used to be, not the best person, not the worst person, but not the best person, but also not who I really intended my life to be like. Did that make sense? I don't know. But anyways, what I'm saying is that whatever we're going through, whether it's trauma from childhood or grieving from whatever part of our lives, sometimes we get stuck holding on to things because we can't let go. One of the hardest things I did this year was actually letting go of my grieving of Mom and Sissy Joe, because I knew I could not hold on to that forever. Do I miss them? Yeah. Last night I was sitting there watching baseball with my dad, and I was saying something, and then, all of a sudden I was just thinking, gosh, it's like I just kept waiting for my mom to come out of the room and go, yeah, because sometimes when they weren't doing well, she would go watch it by herself because she thought she was bad luck. But it's just like, and then it's like, wait, no, that's right. She's gone. And it hurt. And I had feelings about it. But then I moved through it. And that's the same like with football, right? Because Sissy Joe was a huge Steelers fan. But, sorry. But, and so sometimes I'll see them playing, and it's just kind of like, man, I remember those times. And boy, she could be rabid. I could, her brother and I would not watch our favorite teams with her because she could be rabid. She could be mean, but that's a little too hardcore for my taste. But, but when it wasn't, I would sit there and we'd watch and I'd cheer for her team. But, I think that's really the part when we talk about this task is too hard to complete. And it's increasing my limits and making me stronger. It's not just about the task. It's about what we can't let go. And we have to figure out what it is that we can't let go. And thank you guys, because having worked that out with all of you, I think I just realized I need to let go of my inner floof. I need to tell her, hey, or she's probably trying, my inner floof, my inner child is probably trying to tell me, saying, hey, let's do this already, okay? Stop keeping me, locked up in this dark room. I want to be out and free, because you're not letting go of something. You're just letting go of the bad parts of it. All right. So number 3, why is everyone happy but me, says my ego. And my higher self says to me, most only show the good side of their lives, not the bad. So I'm not always honest on my Facebook. And by that I mean, I'll post, and I say Facebook because that's where all my family and friends are. On other social media, I might post all these, random things, or I might just say, I'm having a nope day. But I think a lot of that is because, the algorithms are so strange. Like, I could be having a completely horrible mental health day on Tuesday, and next Saturday, somebody's going, oh my God, I hope you feel better. And it's like, well, I feel better, but, so I mean, now I notice when I'm putting things on there when I'm not feeling in my right mind. I'm actually putting the date on there, which some people just still don't read. But I try to avoid that to some degree now because I don't want people feeling sorry for me. I'm trying to be a mental health advocate. I'm trying to put out there, look, we all have bad days. When I first finally opened up to some people in my family that I have depression, a lot of them looked at me, but you're so happy. And it's like, well, people, you learn how to fake it till you make it. But also, sometimes I'm just happy. Depression just happens. It's that underlying tone. It's that underlying feeling. And I'm learning how to just kind of ride with it when it happens, because if I try to fake it till I make it, then I am doing that. I'm only showing the good side and not the bad side. I mean, no, I don't want to sit there and pour my mood onto everybody. But I also want people to know who haven't got help or who refuse help or who think they don't need help, that it's okay to need help. Again, asking for help is not a weakness. It's a strength. It's a strength to have people in our corner. It's a strength to have, the people that love us and care about us saying, hey, I've got your back. I may not understand it, but I got your back. But yeah, I mean, my good days outnumber my bad days by far nowadays, because I've learned when I'm starting to go through these things that I have to move through it, whether it's my way I choose to, or going out with somebody and doing something. Like on Friday, for instance, we were all supposed to go out to happy hour. My dad was unfortunately able to make it, but my cousin said, I think the day before or on that Wednesday, hey, you know what? Or I think it was that Thursday, even if Uncle doesn't go, can we still go? And I was like, yeah. And my dad was still, kind of up for going. He was really a 11th hour cancellation. Okay. So like just 2 hours before I was supposed to leave, he's like, I just don't have the energy to do this. And it's like, okay, that's fine. And I was just having that day where I was rolling around in my mind. Not my best day. It was just a very bad day. And I told my cousin, because afterwards I'm all like, I don't want to go home yet. So, so we drove around. We drove around looking for a mural we couldn't see because it was dark. But I told her, I said, thank you. Thank you for making me commit to this, because I needed to get out today, but I wouldn't have on my own. And so I thanked her for that, because I needed that. And that is where we need help. She didn't realize she was helping me until I said something, but maybe that higher power out there said, hey, you know what? She's really going to need to get out of the house tomorrow. So, you make sure she gets out, without either one of us even realizing that we were being utilized by something bigger than us to make sure we stay in a good place. She needed to get out, and I definitely needed to be, just having fun, letting go, not thinking about, not stewing in the day. And it wasn't because of my dad. It was just a lot of different random things that were just, not filtering through my mind. And so, one of the things I've talked about with the girls on the show, and I've said it before, is the reason I open myself up and share all this stuff is because I share my story hoping I can help somebody else. And from my feedback that I've received over the years, I have, and I'm very grateful for that, because that keeps me going, no matter how many people watch or don't watch. But, I try to be as open as I can about most things, not everything, although I'm pretty sure I've shared everything. But because I want people to see that even if you have a dinged up mental health, even if you're struggling somewhere, whether you have a dinged up mental health or not, or whether you're trying to move through grieving or trauma or some horrible event that happened in your life, that you are not alone. Whether we've been through the exact same thing that you have, or we're just here, kind of taking notes over here, hoping we can help you, that's the whole point. It's about coming together, right? The Aloha Perspective. Aloha, meaning, like it's a feeling. It's not just a word, it's a feeling, but it's also a feeling of love and community. And that's what I think as a group we're striving for. And I think and I say as a group because the girls, even if they can't come on every day, they're on most of the time. And, as a group, when we have feedback and whatnot, there is a lot putting out there. So, I do try to read all the comments, but if you ever watch this on a different platform, these shows are public. So you can go back and read the comments for yourself because the girls put a lot of good stuff in there. Not all the time, but a lot of times. So number 4, oh, this is a big one. All right. I am such a failure, says the ego. And the higher self says, I am learning from my mistakes. If you do not raise your hand and say, I have never said this, or if you raise your hand and say, I have never said this, I will not believe you. Because there is something in every single one of our lives, no matter how great our lives may be, where we feel like a failure. And most of the time, it's nothing we have control over. If you fail a test, okay. So you learn from your mistakes, right? But own up to it. Live up to it. Just, if you have to have it signed, just be honest with your parents. I had to be. And during geometry, they even got me a tutor. I just could not put any of that together. Geometry never made sense to me, which is sad, but it didn't. But there's a lot of things where we may say that I'm a failure. And you know what? If you have failed, I think, okay, look, I don't know how to put this without it sounding horrible, but I'm going to try to put it this way. I think failing makes us better because it's exactly what the higher self says. We're learning from our mistakes. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It's just, what was it, Edison that said it? I just learned like X amount of ways not to do something. Of course, he had people paying him for it. But anyway, sorry. The things you learn when you get older. It's like, wait, what? Nikola Tesla? So anyway, story for another day. But yeah, we learn from our mistakes, right? I'm going to go back really quick to that stereo unit I told you I built. So of everything I did, I was so proud of myself. And I'm like, all right, time to put the door on. I put it on backwards. So I had to, and it had like the sticky thing where the metal went so that when you close the door, it's magnetic, right? And I put it on the wrong side. And boy, I was so hard on myself. And then people would come up, like my friends would come up, what happened over here? And I think this is before we had Goo Gone or whatever all those other crap that we could have used to take off sticky stuff, right? But when I look back at it now, it's like, you know what? Okay, I made a mistake, but I fixed it. I fixed it and it worked and it didn't matter. I mean, maybe the other side was a little loose because most of the sticky stuff was on the other side. But you know what? It didn't matter. It did to me then, though, because I was like, oh my God, I did this so perfectly. How could I mess this up? And even my parents were like, it's okay. I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you put this all together. It's like you did this all by yourself. And it's like, yeah, what brother and sisters do I have? Hello? We're the only 3 people in this house. But now when I look back on it, I think, you know what? We're all going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. And I learned from them. Once I learned how to learn from them and I stopped beating myself up over them, that's where the change came. And that's just life. We're all going to have obstacles that we have to hurdle. Those can be the mistakes in our life. And whether it's a super huge mistake where you feel like you don't deserve anything in the world good, or if something small where you just put the tab on the wrong side of the door, it's okay. It's okay, because if good things are happening to you, just embrace it. Just embrace it. Because that's your higher power or the universe or whatever it is that you turn your faith to saying, hey, you know what? I see you and I see you trying. And that's what matters, is that you're learning from these mistakes, that you are doing your best to not repeat them, to not go back to that ego and that comfortable place Because, people get comfortable even in horrible places because it's comfortable. That's why whoever came up with the saying, get comfortable being uncomfortable, I absolutely love it. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because eventually that uncomfortable feeling, when you just say, hey, I'm just going to go with the flow, no matter how hard it is. It's very hard for me. No matter how hard it is, it starts to get more comfortable when you learn how to go with the flow. And case in point, going with the flow. Last Friday, going to happy hour with my cousin. I committed, and I could have backed out, and I think she might have understood. But I think she would have understood. But would she have been disappointed? Yeah. So I think I started out going because I didn't want to disappoint her, and it actually ended up benefiting me very greatly. Because that's something I needed too. And I realized I had to go with the flow. I had to go with the flow in this one because I made that commitment. And sometimes when we make that commitment, just follow through, no matter how hard it is. I mean, if you're dying on the floor, do not go, okay? Go to the ER. But what I'm saying is if you know that it's something that needs to be done, but you're so afraid of just moving out of that moment, do it anyway. There's a great quote that I heard, now it's slipping my mind where I heard it. But it was like, face the fear, give it a little home, and then do it anyway. I know it was an actor. Oh, I remember who now. Anyways, yeah. And it's one of my favorite quotes because it's just like, oh my God. And it really helped me on my healing journey because it's like, you know what? How accurate is that? Feel the fear, give it a little home, and do it anyway. And sometimes I think our fear still gets in the way, but that's the ego. So let go of the ego. Shoo it out the door. And the last one, number 5, I want to give up. And the higher self, I am just getting started. That is my life in a nutshell. How about you? How about any of you out there? Is that your life in a nutshell? I want to give up. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to quit. You're just getting started. We've talked about this in the past. And I'm kind of debating if I should talk about it now. But the ultimate give up, right? And I'm going to look for some feedback from my girls that are on right now. But if I should talk about it or not. But when we want to give up, that is when we should be saying, don't throw in the towel just yet. Don't, give in, don't cave in to that ego. Just take a deep breath, sit, relax, and ask yourself, is this what I need right now? Is this, sorry, I'm looking to see, because I'm not sure I'm getting all of my, I'm not sure I'm getting all of my messages here from everybody. So I'm trying to go to just to make sure I don't have any more comments, because I feel like there might be comments, but I'm not seeing them. So forgive me. Hold on one moment. Oh, Sammy says talk. All right. Okay. So I'll share. Okay. So sorry, hold on one moment, guys. So I have had various times of, so trigger warning, suicidal ideation. Now, suicidal ideation means that I've sat there and thought of 5 billion ways for myself to die. I have come close 3 different times. I have been that close. And then, like I've mentioned in past shows, divine intervention just kind of took over and just kind of happened. And, I wanted to give up. Now, there's a lot of people out there who would say, well, that's the weak way out. That's the cheesy way out. That's the weak person's way out. No, I think sometimes when people get to that point, they're just tired. They're just tired. Now, there are the people who will use it as a way to get themselves out of trouble. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who struggle with mental health, they're so tired, they just got nothing left. And I feel like at some point that's where I was at. But like I said, divine intervention kept stepping in. And I realize now, when I look back, that I was just getting started. I just had to remove myself from all the, from underneath all the muck that I had, I didn't place it all on myself, but I allowed myself to sink into it. And, I refused help for a long time. I refused what I knew could help me for a long time. I thought I could handle it on my own. I thought I could control it on my own. Well, here's the trick about life. We don't really control anything. There are certain things in our lives that we can control, but life itself, we don't. I don't know what's going to happen to me when I walk out that door today. If I walk out that door today, it's hot. But, but yeah, I don't know what will happen, 2 minutes from now. I don't know what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. But what I do know is that I am in charge of this moment right here. And I'm not shaming anybody who has made attempts, who has had attempts. I'm not going to pity you either, because I know that's not what you want. But I will hold space for you. Because, I understand. And, September is actually Suicide Prevention Month. And we don't hear enough about it, right? We keep hearing about all this other stuff, all this other things that are happening in the world. That next year will just be an anniversary of something else. Whereas September every year is Suicidal Prevention Month. It should be every month. We should be promoting this. We should be trying to help each other, stay alive. There's a lot of people out there who were raised to believe that having poor mental health is, for weak people. My mom believed that. I hate to say it because I love my mom, but that's why I think when I talked about last week, when I saw how different she was with other people, it's like, hello. I told my mom when I was in my early 20s that I was in therapy and that they put me on some meds. And I was so proud of myself because I was like, yeah, I'm getting help and blah, blah, blah. And the first thing she said to me was, only weak people. That only happens to weak people. I don't make weak children. So I quit therapy and I quit the drugs. I quit the Prozac, which actually in the long run was not a bad idea because that stuff made me feel like a zombie. Thank goodness somebody came up with something different. But yeah, But yeah, and then she wouldn't talk to me about it after that. So I never really did talk to her about it, and I should have talked to my dad. But I think, I don't know where that came from with her. And I mean, maybe she was afraid because, she had suicide in her family. And I think maybe that kind of, in my mind, that's what she was afraid of, that's the road I'd go down. And that's the road I almost went down 2 times after, because I didn't have that support. So what she thought she was doing to help me was actually holding me back. And I don't blame her for it because, at that point I'm an adult. I'm in charge of my own person. I should have just said, you know what? She doesn't have to know. But a lot of who I was tied into my parents. It was just 3 of us when I was growing up. I'm an only child, right? All the trauma I went through, they kept me from being a statistic because they were very awesome parents. But we all have our shortcomings, right? So, yeah, and Sammy says, far too many people believe it is a weakness, which is why we need to talk about it and dispel that myth. Absolutely. Absolutely. Imagine how many people we might be able to save if we told them, I don't know what you're going through, but I will hold space for you. Just hang in there a little longer. Don't give up because you are just starting. And, therapy can be life-changing, but it isn't easy. For some people, they go in and go, yeah, okay, and blah, blah, blah. For me, having held it in for like 40 something, well, 30 something years. Oh, it was hard. I felt like, I was literally shredding every piece of my existence and trying to piece me back together like a puzzle. Somebody asked me how my first 4 sessions of therapy was back in 2017, the one I told you it was like 6 months of intensive therapy. And I said, I feel like somebody skinned me alive and poured me into a little kid's pool of alcohol. That's how much it hurt. Because so much was coming back up that I've forgotten about, or I'd pushed down, or didn't want to think about. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Because it really set me on the course that I needed to be on. It set me on the path that I needed to be on. And it got me to where I'm at today, where I still have this little tiny shadow hanging over me that I have to figure out what it is, why I can't let go, what it is I'm so afraid of, so that I can just move forward with the flow. But I'm begging you not to give up. Don't give up. Whatever it is in your life, don't give up. If it's not something for you, move to something different. But don't give up on yourself. Okay? You are just getting started, and your higher self really wants you to know that you are just getting started. So, what I wanted to close with is this. I absolutely love this. I read it and I was like, whoa, this really hits home. Now, the person that wrote this, again, this one is from the Instagram page, Woman CEO Gossip, all one word, Woman, A-N, CEO Gossip. And it just says, you can be. You can be. So it doesn't matter the ages in here, okay? I'm just going to read what they wrote because I think this was probably a personal testament to themselves and them sharing their story. But it says, lost at 22, broke at 28, unsure at 31, starting over at 35, glow and rise at 38, find your purpose at 42, become truly unstoppable at 47. Trust the process, you're not behind, you're still becoming. Greatness isn't rushed. And I felt that hard because I felt seen. There's a lot of people my age or a lot of people older who just feel like, well, it's too late for me. I'm not one of these young people, and why should I bother? Because, people are going to make fun of me because I'm this age. I'm 52 years old and I'm still trying to figure it out. And for the longest time, I did basically beat myself against the rocks because I allowed myself to believe that healing only happens for younger people. Bullshit. Sorry. Sorry, Jeannie. BS. Okay? It doesn't. It happens for anybody. You can be 92 years old. And if you need to heal, if you want to let all that go before it's time for you to pass on, and you don't want to take all that with you, let it go. I don't care if you're 52, 102, or 22. If you need to let it go, let it go. Heal it. There's no age limit on healing. And that's number 5. I want to give up. Don't. If you're, look at all these people out there who, like the 90-year-old woman who graduated from law school. And people are like, well, what's the point? She's not going to practice law. That wasn't the point, though. You don't know that she won't practice law. She may be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to open my own, advice, my free advice clinic for people who need it, who can't afford it, right? And, people will sit there and go, but what's the point? Well, why not? It was something she wanted to do when she was younger, but she ended up being a young mother and a wife for a very long time. And when her kids were older and her grandkids were getting older, she's like, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. I need to do something with myself. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go be a lawyer. Why not? She was in her 90s when she graduated. And with honors. Okay? So, don't limit yourself by your age. Okay? Don't hold yourself back. It's like Sammy says, healing happens when it happens. It does. And I will tell you, for me, it felt like, well, why didn't it happen sooner? Why didn't it happen earlier? Why didn't it happen at this time? And blah, blah, blah. Why am I so far behind on all this stuff? It happened when it needed to, because it was when I could finally handle it. Unfortunately, it came after my mom passed away, because I realized then, if I don't get my shit together, I am going to end up dead on the side of the road. Quite possibly by my own hand. But who knows? Because I was drifting. I was drifting, and I was not drifting in a good place. Because as I was trying to heal from my, grieving my mother after she died, Sissy Joe died less than a year later. And it was just kind of like, oh, seriously, God, universe, everybody out there, why are you putting so much on me? I thought my brain was going to explode. And then a few years after Sissy passed, I still hadn't gotten help. I was trying to do this on my own. And then my friend passed away. She took her own life. And I was just like, all right, I really need therapy. Because that sunk me completely. That was 2017. And I was like, it was 2 days before my mother's birthday. And I was like, you know what? But I didn't give up. I wanted to. And I remember just laying in my room that Sunday on my mom's birthday. And, older sibling kept coming upstairs to check on me. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just leave me alone. Baby sibling kept texting, and she knew there was something wrong because I wouldn't even take her calls. And then my friend, one of my friends, good friend Charlie, kept trying to text me, and he's just like, when all this stuff was really weighing on me, I went to therapy. And I was like, baby sibling was well, actually, that's what older sibling told me. She's like, you know what? But I had all these people just texting me saying, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Maybe you need some help. An older sibling says, when I needed it, I went to therapy. And it changed my life. And even my last therapist, the one that graduated me, because I told her, I said, well, I just feel like I'm so far behind. She said, why do you make everything about age? I loved her. She was like, she was like my mother in another body. She was everything I needed in that second round of therapy that I had when I turned 50. But she's like, why do you make everything about age? It shouldn't have to be about age. She's like, are you breathing? Yeah. Are you still alive? Yeah. Well, let's start there. And it was perfect. It was perfect. Maybe not someone else's perfection, but it was my perfection. And even still, the whole point of me going then was because I had trouble going with the flow and letting go. So, remember, you are not lost. You're just finding your way. Greatness isn't rushed. I like that. Greatness isn't rushed. Trust the process. You're not behind. You're still becoming. And if you're one of those people that says, well, when do I finally become? We could be becoming on the day we die. Okay? And maybe that's just it. To go on this journey and help other people along our journey in any way that we know how, in any way that comes natural to us. It doesn't have to be like, oh, here, let me take your hand and guide you down this way. No, it could be something simple you say to a stranger. Even a smile can make a difference in someone's life. We just never know. So when your ego starts yelling at you and starts trying to make you feel horrible about yourself, or tries to make you feel like you're not important, that tries to make you feel like, you're not worthy of self-respect, you're not worthy of self-worth, you're not worthy of self-esteem, higher self-esteem, turn to your higher self, because your higher self will say, yes, you are. You're worth all those things. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. Don't worry about what happened, 15 years ago or 5 years ago if you're super young. Don't worry about what happened yesterday. Every day is a gift, right? Each new day that we wake up is a clean slate to do something better, or to do something, or just to be. And if you're having one of those days where you just can't get out of bed, that's okay. Just take care of yourself. but don't sit in the emotion too long. Don't plant seeds. Don't plant roots. Don't grow roots. There you go. Don't grow roots in that feeling. Move through it. Journal it. Talk it out under your phone if you have to, if you don't feel like writing. But just get it up and out of you. Because that's how we tame the ego. And that's where we allow our higher self to take over. So, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you, Sammy and Cousin Jeannie, for coming on. And again, like I said, for anyone who missed it, older sibling says hello. She's having breakfast with a friend of ours who moved away, but used to be our neighbor. So I'm kind of sorry I'm not there, but I'm here. But yeah, I'll see everybody back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Under Shelly Marie Lucas, you can watch across the social media board, either under my name or the Aloha Perspective. On Instagram, it's under Shelly Marie Lucas or GoalieFan1973. I can't remember which. And on Twitter, I'm on Shellbell's Quest, where I'm pretty much just goofy at that point on there. So it's not even really a mental health thing anymore. But I can make it a mental health thing by saying that's how far I've come. All right. So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Ladies, I appreciate you. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I hope everybody else who's watching this has a fabulous, fabulous day. I will see you tomorrow.